What's going on, YouTube? Today I bring you my Week 3 NFL predictions. We're currently 18 and 14. I was not able to get out power rankings or a recap for this week, but I will try again next week. Also going to be doing a mock draft soon. So if you guys are interested in that, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Without further ado, let's get into my Week 3 predictions. Starting off Thursday Night Football happening in just a bit. So I am getting this video, recorded at the very least. Probably not going to be out before, but recorded before the game starts. And I have Carolina winning 27-20. They've been solid so far. Their defensive line has been fantastic. Darnold has gotten the job done. Now keep in mind that is against the Jets and the COVID injured Saints. So to me, there's a lot of teams right now where it's kind of like, yeah, you've been great, but like, can you do it against a good team? And the Texans are not really that team to be like, okay, well, what do you do against a good team? The Texans are an experienced team. They've proven that they can be pretty good. They were very competitive with the Browns last week. So I expect them at the very least to be competitive with the Panthers. I think the Panthers could win a bit more easily than this, but this might be the toughest test that Sam Darnold's had yet. Although I think I did see something about Justin Reed being out, so that obviously would be a big factor. I think the Texans will be competitive. They'll make it somewhat close, but at the end of the day, I do have the Panthers pulling it off. And yeah, so I mean, I don't think it's going to be the best game in the world, but it should be somewhat entertaining. Then moving on to our first Sunday game. This is actually my game of the week. Chargers visiting the Chiefs is going to be a good game. I'm pretty sure everyone predicted the Chiefs and Chargers to be at the floor of the AFC West. And this game's really going to show us who's like truly in the floor because, I don't think either one of these teams are going to be second or first after, this week. One of them is going to be last, though, and I think that's going to end up being the Chargers. Again, it's my game of the week for a reason. It's going to be a great game. I think the spread's being a little too generous to the Chiefs, especially considering they just lost to the Ravens. But it's going to be a good game. The Chargers are going to be very competitive with the Chiefs. They legitimately do have a shot to win. I think it's going to be a great game all around. But at the end of the day, I think Mahomes is going to be a little bit too much to keep up. Or the Chargers defense, they're going to have a tough time keeping up with Mahomes. Asante Samuel's been great, but I just don't think a rookie corner is enough to kind of slow down the Chiefs, who really are going to be looking for a rebound week after that loss to the Ravens. And so I have the Chiefs taking this one in a thriller. Then moving on, the Cardinals and Jaguars. I have this being a bit of a blowout. This is going to start looking more and more dumb as the season goes on. I had them at 8 and 9. At a point, I had them winning the division. I used to be really high on the Cardinals, and they've definitely played their minds out these first 2 weeks. Their defense was not even close to as good as in the second week, but it's still going to be good. The Jaguars, they've played horrible so far. The Cardinals, in my opinion, are a much better team than the Broncos or Texans, and the Broncos could be good, but, the Cardinals are on another level. I expect this to be a blowout with Arizona winning the game. Then the Bears visiting the Browns. I have the Browns winning this one 28-15. I don't think it's going to be very closely. I think this is going to be a bit more of a, they're probably going to dominate it than the score shows. I think the Bears will be able to get something going. They're going to be using Justin Fields a lot, who has shown flashes. I think he'll be able to score points against the Browns, but not enough, in my opinion, to be able to win the game. The only reason I really have the Browns down here is because the Bears defense really did show up against the Bengals last week. And I don't expect them to shut down Nick Chubb or anything, but they could definitely slow him down. So that's why I don't have the Browns winning by that much. I mean, it's 2 scores, but still, I do think the Browns win this one, but a bit more convincingly than the score might show. Then the Washington football team going over to Buffalo. I think Washington will make this a decently interesting game. You have two teams where, Washington's defense was expected to be really, really good, and they've been disappointing. And then if you look at the Bills, their offense has been, Josh Allen was expected to be very, very good, and he's been a bit disappointing. Neither one's been horrible, obviously, but I think this is going to be that game where Washington's defense comes alive, and so does Josh Allen. And if you're going to take the two, I'm going to take Josh Josh Allen, just because I do think at that point it would come down to Buffalo's defense versus Washington's offense, and I just think Buffalo's defense is going to be a bit too much for Taylor Heineke, but I do think he will still look good. And at the end of the day, I do have the Bills winning this one to move up to 2-1. Then we have the Colts traveling to the Titans. It looks like Carson Wentz might not play this week. And for me, if he's out, that's a definite, they're done. The only reason I have this game being close is just because the Titans have not played the best recently. They beat the Seahawks in a come from behind victory. Yeah, that's great. But is Derrick Henry going to run for 3 touchdowns and 180 yards again against a much better Colts defense? Probably not. The passing game has still struggled. And again, this defense is just much better. And I still have the Titans winning at the end of the day, but I think it's going to be a tight game with just the fact that the Colts defense is so much better than the Seahawks. If Carson Wentz played, maybe I could have them winning, but for right now, I have them making it a close game. So Titans not quite covering the spread, but I do think they end up winning this game. Then the Saints going over to the Patriots. I think this is also going to be a very good game. It could definitely be in running for game of the week. But at the end of the day, I feel like it might be a bit sloppy, to be honest. I mean, if you look at the two, I think the Patriots defense is going to have their way with Jameis Winston and the Saints for the most part. But then at the same time, I think the Saints defense is going to have a bit of their way with the Patriots offense. And so while it's a bit of a high-scoring game, I think it could be a much more defense-dominated game with those kind of, eventually those defenses will get tired and worn out by these guys eventually. I do have the Patriots pulling it off in Foxborough. You dropped an embarrassing game in Foxborough to the Dolphins. You're looking for that win at home. With the Saints, it was a poor week last week. I think they'll be looking for revenge, and they will be much, much better. But to me, the Patriots are just simply much better than the Panthers, and I have the Patriots pulling out this win. Again, Saints could, but I have the Patriots winning it. Then the Falcons at the Giants. I think this will be a nice game. Daniel Jones did look really nice against Washington's defense last week, and the Falcons' defense is definitely not even close to as good as Washington. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, the Giants' defense has also not played good. And that does leave opportunity for that Falcons offense to go in there and make some plays. Matt Ryan has been bad, but Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts are still some great weapons. I think the Falcons will make an entertaining game. Both defenses are going to be pretty poor, but I do think I'll take the Giants offense at home over the Falcons. The Falcons have really disappointed me this year. I thought I thought their offense would be a bit better than it has been, and it's just not. But the Giants' defense is, again, just not played well. And so I have the Giants winning at the end of the day, but I do think the Falcons will at least make it an interesting game. Not like a game of the week type game, but it'll make it a fun game. Then the Bengals going over to the Steelers, and I have the Bengals dropping to 1-2 after a nice start against the Vikings. I just think the Steelers defense is going to be too much to handle. They weren't able to get going as much against the Raiders, and that's ultimately why they lost. Big Ben is very limited by what he can do for that offense. Najee's great, but when you're facing a better defense, it's going to be tough. And the Bengals defense has been surprisingly good this year. This is going to be a low-scoring matchup. Mainly that's because of the Steelers' defense. Because if the Steelers' pass rush was not that good, I would probably have the Bengals winning this game. But when you take such a horrible Bengals offensive line versus maybe one of the greatest pass rushes that we've ever seen on a good night, I mean, to me, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game with the Steelers pulling out the win. Again, they'll be limited offensively. I do think the Bengals will be able to keep Najee Harris in check, but yeah, I do have the Steelers pulling out this one at the end of the day. Then the Ravens at the Lions. This should be a blowout. There's no reason that after beating the Chiefs, you should even let the Lions look somewhat competitive against you. I think the Ravens have a much better pass rush than the Packers. And we'll talk about the Packers later, but I kind of feel validated over a few statements regarding the Packers. But, with the Ravens, there's no reason coming off the Kansas City victory that this game should be even close. Excuse me. I have the Ravens winning this game 38-6 and moving up to 2-1. The Lions should look bad again, but I think the Ravens are going to smother them. Then our first Sunday day game is the Jets heading over to the Broncos. This should probably also be a complete floor wiping. The Jets have looked very poor this year. Zach Wilson, especially last week, at a time had more interceptions than he had completions. And honestly, I think the Broncos defense is better than the Patriots. The Patriots have a great defense, but to me, the Broncos is even better, which is not a good sign. You're coming off of Denver, 2 wins in a row. You're returning to home to play in front of the fans, for the first time in over a year. So yeah, it's just to me, I don't see any reason why this should be a close game similar to the Ravens Lions. It's just one team's been playing great, the other has not. And especially giving them that at home field advantage, I have the Broncos making quick work of the Jets. Then the Dolphins and Raiders. I have the Raiders winning this one. Dolphins have looked very sloppy this year. I've had a few people telling me that, like Tua, like that's the only issue and everything. The rest of the team's great, and I just don't feel that's true. The offensive line is still not good, and that is definitely part of why Tua's not been playing well, but Tua himself is definitely an issue. I've never been a fan of Tua, and he's not looking good. Receivers, it's just tough when Will Fuller's not playing. Devontae Parker still has never regained his 2019 form. Jalen Waddle, he's going to do about as much as he can out there. The defense is great, but it's just not good enough to win you games, and especially after how the Raiders have looked so far at home, on some tremendous momentum right now after wins over the Steelers and Ravens. I have the Raiders winning this game pretty nicely here in Las Vegas. Then the Buccaneers and Rams, and this is going to be a very good game. I ended up going with the Chargers Chiefs for my game of the week, but this was my second choice. This is actually the one game I think Tampa drops this year. I projected them to be 16-1, and that one loss did come to the Rams. I think that this is the game that they lose. The Rams have looked also amazing alongside the Buccaneers. However, the Rams have not had the same sloppiness that the Buccaneers have had in some forms, and with a team that as good as the Rams, you can't make those mistakes around them and think you'll still win. Especially at home in Los Angeles. Fun fact, this will actually be Tom Brady's first career game playing in Los Angeles. I have the Rams upsetting this one. It could certainly be Buccaneers win. It could go either way, but I have the Rams pulling off this win. I think this is the one game the Buccaneers drop, and the Rams are going to look pretty good while doing it. And I think Matthew Stafford's going to officially really cement himself as the fact that he could have been this great quarterback if he just wasn't on the Lions. And I could see this going to overtime even and being some thriller. Again, still went with the Chargers Chiefs at the end, but this is going to be a fantastic game. Then the Seahawks Vikings. I have the Seahawks pulling this one off. The Vikings have looked pretty poor. The Seahawks have not. They let the Titans get that come from behind victory, but before then they were looking really dominant. Their offense has simply been just elite, and the Vikings defense has been disappointing. Danielle Hunter was kind of non-existent week 1 and then played really nicely week 2. But their secondary is a big, big concern. And when you put that kind of secondary on guys like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, that's going to be an issue. Russell Wilson's going to have his way with this team. I certainly think the Vikings will be able to get going decently well, at least better than they did last week in week 1 against a pretty poor Seahawks offense or Seahawks defense. But at the end of the day, I still have the Seahawks pulling this one out pretty easily. I think the 1.5 spread's a little disrespectful to Seattle, and I have them pulling out this win. Then moving on to our Sunday night football game, and this is actually my betting game of the week. I never want to tell you what to do with your money, but if there was a game to bet on, I would personally bet on this one. San Francisco's favored to win, and I think the Packers are going to win it. And now we'll kind of talk about a lot of different stuff with the Packers. To me, I feel validated with a lot of what I said. I said they would be fine. If they struggled against the Lions, then there's obviously an issue, and they did for that first half, and then really took off in the second half. Finally shaking that rust off. Aaron Jones, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Robert Tonyan, they all looked great. They didn't even have David Bakhtiari. They didn't even have Zadarius Smith, which is an issue. Pass rush is going to be an issue without Zadarius Smith, and that leads me to my other point where, I was saying during the whole Aaron Rodgers drama stuff that the Packers roster was not good. They have some elite level players, Jair Alexander, Zadarius Smith, Kenny Clark, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, right? They have those great guys, but if you take away Zadarius Smith, there's no pass rush. And we just saw that against a team like the Lions, who have a good line, but still. If you took away Kenny Clark, I guarantee there would not be much run defense there. If you took away Jair Alexander, very likely that secondary becomes very bad all of a sudden. And I understand to a degree that makes sense, right? These are elite level players, but it gets bad. Like, I think the Packers had like 1 sack on Jared Goff. Like, that's not okay. It's just, so to me, I just feel a little validated with that. But I think the Packers end up pulling this one out. The 49ers have struggled against some not very good teams. They almost lost to the Lions and Eagles in just these tight defensive matchups. Their 2-quarterback system has been an interesting experiment, but I don't think it's the right step going forward. To me, you either sit Trey Lance or you start him right now and see what you got, because Trey Lance has looked solid at times. Jimmy Garoppolo has looked horrible at times. So you really have to see what you got. You have to see what your future is. And I think if they could try to continue that against the Packers here, they're going to find out the hard way. The Packers, they looked great in that second half, and I think they'll continue that momentum. So to me, I think the Packers end up winning this one in a nice Sunday night football game. And again, I would bet on this game personally, but again, I'm not telling you what to do with your money. And then moving on to our last game of the week, not really the best matchup on Monday Night Football, Eagles and Cowboys. Eagles have looked solid. I mean, I was super cautious after they beat the Falcons. Like, yes, that was beating them in a dominant fashion, but at the same time, it was the Falcons defense. If Jalen Hurts can do it, apparently so can Tom Brady. Or it should be the other way around. If Tom Brady can do it, apparently Jalen Hurts can as well. It's not that tough a matchup. They had a great defensive battle with the Niners, but there were so many missed opportunities that just really led to them not winning the game. And to me, the Cowboys are by far a much more explosive team. Their defense, not the best in the world. Good on some parts. Micah Parsons, by the way, had 8. It was either 8 or 11, but either way, he had the most pressures by any rookie pass rusher since Nick Bosa in 2019. Micah Parsons could legit stick at edge for them and be, probably the rookie of the year, honestly. That's how good that dude is. So the defense, not that bad. Either way, I think the Cowboys win this one pretty easily. Again, I just don't think it's going to be that good a game. Again, score's probably going to show score's probably not going to show the dominance, but I do think Cowboys win this one pretty easily on our Monday Night Football game. But that is going to wrap up our Week 3 predictions, which, just notice it says Week 2 up there, but that is going to wrap up our Week 3 predictions. If you guys like the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Like I said, doing a mock draft soon, other stuff as well. Hopefully be able to get power rankings and recap out next week. Let's see how many I get right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.